Hi everyone, it's Madeline here. I'm coming to you on a gorgeous Monday morning when I look out my window. And I've been sort of percolating with something that I want to talk to you about today. And in my world, take off my glasses, this is one of the most important things. And it kind of describes what has happened here. And as we know, the world is in crisis, mental health crisis, climate crisis. You know, the word of the day seems to be crisis, political crisis, healthcare crisis, educational crisis, you name it, any number of crises you could choose from. And at the same time, remember that you are right here in your body. So those crises are not happening inside of you, but you're feeling probably the repercussions. So how did we end up here? And what is this resurgence that's happening for decades with mindfulness and breath work? Where are we going with all this? Are we trying to create a better planet? You bet. But all the best inventions and all the best knowledge and education and books out there are not doing it. Therapy's not doing it. And I'm a therapist. So what is going on here? Well, let me take you back a little bit. And I'm talking thousands of years. There was a time when people walked the planet in full connection with nature and with themselves, with their bodies, with how they felt in the moment, with their senses and their sight and their smell and their intuition. They knew organically how to work, how to heal, how to hunt, how to eat, and they were guided by that. What happened here? Over time, with the creation of our cultures and our patriarchal systems, and religious institutions, there came this story that disconnected us from that part of ourselves. And that story has been handed down to, it's so long now, but really the effect has been to talk you out of your own intuition and connection with yourself, and has kept us dependent and reliant, first of all, on the church, that we need to go through a church or a male figure, and this includes men and women, in the church to access God. Through the educational systems, that we need to get a good education, to get a good job, to make good money in order to be a worthwhile person. And these systems are now collapsing. And what's going to end up happening is because none of this fear and shame can any longer be held in our bodies or in society. So it is coming up, and it's coming up in what we call a crisis. And what it's doing is it's destroying all those systems that we looked to outside of ourselves. And what's going to happen then? We'll be left back again with ourselves. This is good news. So when this disconnection happened, I'm going to get a little more specific now. I'm going to talk about feminine energy and masculine energy, male and female. And I'm not so much talking about the people themselves, but more of the energy. So what happened for us as women? We were disconnected from our root, from our womb, from our pelvis, from this vessel that we sit in. And we've even been fed this, and I'm a mindfulness teacher, but that the mind is the most powerful, or give from your heart. Well, that's all very well and good and true. But if we are not rooted in ourselves, in this vessel that we live in our holy womb chakra. And I'm not talking about a physical womb, although women have access to that life-giving power, but I'm talking about an energetic center that connects us with ourselves in men and women, just below the belly button in the abdomen area where we have our gut feelings, our intuitions, and yes, our emotions. So when we're not connected to that, what happens? Well, this is what I have seen, and this is what I have felt in myself and seen in my clients. For women, we are fed a line to be givers, to be selfless, to be mothers, and there is a time for that, but to give from our hearts. So we have an overactive heart chakra, and it can never really be overactive because your love is endless. But when it's rooted in a body, in a foundation, in our roots going down into the earth, then we can be stable in our giving because we're connected with our gut feelings. Is this a good place to give or not? We're connected with our intuition. And we also, over time, went through a process, we can start to discard those emotions that have been kept there, that A, were not ours, or B, were held in trauma that went against our essential nature. That's another video. That's what I see in women. And then we have a big heart, but then we have a shutdown in our throat and being able to voice our boundaries from a stable place. What I see in men, and men have been equally, if not even more, harmed by this disconnection from our source, is that they are not stable in their emotions. They don't have access to their sadness, their grief. It's there in their bellies. And probably, that's probably a lot of the reason behind all these big beer bellies, because it's like being kept protected because it's not valid in our culture. Do you see what I'm saying? So they have been disconnected. And yes, men are such loyal in their true masculine energy. Loyal, practical, providers, protectors, all of those. And men are quite heart-centered. They are givers in their essential nature. But when they're disconnected, what we see is anger and aggression because they're not feeling their sadness and their grief and their guilt and their shame. So it comes out in these other ways. And it also gives them the idea, because they're like, here up, do. Women as well, feminine energy as well. Do, produce, provide, be, success. And we see this drivenness that is completely disembodied. Because when you have men that are connected to their pelvis, to what is contained in there, they couldn't create wars. They couldn't kill their fellow people. They wouldn't take order. Well, maybe they would take orders because they're scared, right? But they'd feel that fear. But you can't afford men to feel their own fear when you're trying to conquer, right? So this goes way back. And when men start becoming more centered and heart-centered, they're going to be more loving, more giving. They're not going to be raping, right? Like, this is a culture that rape is a thing. Those men are completely disconnected also as women from their sexual, sensual energy. So do you see what's happened here? I know this has been a long one, but believe me, I've been percolating for a while on this. So it leaves us with a sense of dread, of worry, of depression, that freeze response, because we're like, what the hell, and it leaves us with a deep sense of loneliness and disconnection in ourselves and in the world. Disconnected from Mother Nature, disconnected from the universe and from our own sacred womb energy. And again, I want to make this really clear. our womb in men and women bodies, you know, owners of vaginas and penises, and however you identify yourself. This connection is a deep connection with the mother and the great mother that birthed us through your mother. And your mother was also severely disconnected, and her mother. So that's what we're inheriting. That's what we can heal. And that's where we're going with this. So this is where I guide people, where they are at the point where they're done with the doing, or they can't do anymore. They're so burned out, they're tired, they're fatigued, they have chronic pain, fibromyalgia, you know, all these things that are showing up in our bodies. And for a lot of men, it's cardiac stuff. It's anxiety, and for both, it's cancer. Now this contributes to it, don't get me wrong, it doesn't cause it, but it certainly doesn't help. And we know that there are personality types that have been completely conditioned to be this way that do get sick. And if you followed any of Gabor Mate's work, you will know this already through the trauma that we have all experienced. With my womb transformational breath work, for men and women, we go right in there and we start shedding all this stuff that the heart couldn't handle at the time because it needs the support of the womb chakra. The womb chakra is where these emotions get metabolized. And if they're not, it's where they are held. You know that already in your own body. So we go right there and we start releasing and shedding the emotions that have been held that aren't ours, probably given to us or accumulated through our own family experience culture. And what that leaves us with is access to our own dark, fertile, alive potential, endless, infinite potential. Not to also to mention a better mood, more energy, and more rootedness, so that you can become what today's world calls law of attraction, magnetism, whatever you want to call it, manifestation. This is true manifestation. You become that vessel that's open and aware and alive and attractive and magnetic to what your life is calling you forward towards, to why you are here, your true soul's calling. This is what has happened here. And if this makes sense to you, if it resonates, and if you're ready to do 8 weeks of concentrated work so you don't have to do it for the rest of your life, reach out and contact me. I work one-on-one, and right now, for all my one-on-one clients, all my individual clients have access to a year in my Rising Collective membership group. And because you're a sensitive being, if you're listening to this right now, whether you're male or female, I know that you are, because you're kind of curious. You're here, you showed up. And if you've listened this far, you're absolutely amazing. You also get access to two of my very, very favorite and most liked courses, the Empath Sanctuary and the Alive Empath. Because the sensitive people in this world are going to survive because we adapt, we shapeshift, we move, we change. And when we can become more like the river and less like the ice. And those are a really good background for the womb breath work that we dive into. All right, everyone, I hope this has been helpful. And I hope that on some level you understand that the world you were born into, the family, the culture, already handed you with a handshake this history. And at the same time, this can be the day. This can be the very day that you change it. This can be the day that you move forward and say, I'm going to give it my all, because this day and this year is the life, the time that I truly step into who I truly am. And the beautiful thing about this is we never know the outcome, but the outcome is always beautiful. of what rises from the ashes, what rises from that space within yourself. It's not out there. The images you're seeing out there, they're not you, they're images. What you're being sold out there, and some of it might be really helpful. I have a whole library of self-help books, but they're not who you are. You are you inside your own body, and that's where we birth a new world. Take care. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, leave me a comment, and I'm so grateful for you. Take care. Love you.